Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. Today's episode is going to be a little difficult for me to do, so please bear with me while I get through this. I am not here today to talk about anything in business related, or coaching or marketing or anything like that. I am here today as a human being, as a community member, and as somebody who lives inside the city of what's happening right now. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was born and raised in Minneapolis, and I also live just one block from Roosevelt High School. So if you have been seeing anything on the news lately or anything on social media, you know that me and my community, we are hurting, but we are fighting as, strong and every day as we can. What's happening with the current regime and the current things are tragic. And they never should be happening in the first place. And I do want to acknowledge how hard it feels to keep showing up to work, to business related tasks, to life in general. When something like this shakes your whole life up, it seems like those types of things are so insignificant. Excuse me. And, really my main focus has been just taking care of the community around me, showing up where I can. And I've been involved in community action and protest for many years. Showing up for my people, showing up for my community is something I take quite seriously, actually. I know from my experience, especially from 2020, that moments like this take a toll, you know what I mean? So mentally, physically, emotionally, they really do. And there's a pressure we feel to keep going as normal. I know we have to have those normal moments in our daily lives, obviously to be productive as well, to pay our bills and, but to post and to perform and to talk about business and marketing just doesn't feel genuine to me right now. So I apologize while I'm in this phase, you know what I mean? And if you are also in this phase and you're also hurting, even if you don't live in Minneapolis or directly in Minnesota, I know you're feeling that. I know you feel, the pain that we're feeling and that we're going through. And if you're a service provider or a business owner, a parent, we're all human beings. We're all struggling to focus. We're all struggling to get through this together. But we need to hold space for each other, right? So we need to be patient with each other while we, fight this fight. And, you have to remind yourself you're going through something really heavy. So for me, it means slowing my business down a little bit. So I'm not taking as many calls. I'm not doing as many things. And I'm giving myself grace while I just navigate every day, because every day just feels like you only have certain capacity for certain things. But I will continue to show up for my community. I will continue to, do the things that are hopeful for keeping people safe and keeping people alive. But one thing I want to ask of you is, my hope is that you don't stay silent and you do find that courage to show up and you do find that courage to speak out, because silence doesn't keep people safe, right? Community does, and doing things does. That can look like so many different things. Everybody's very different with how they show up to these things. Like, people who are young and fresh and able-bodied, they can protest and they can be in the front lines. But you could also be donating money. You could be checking on your neighbors. You could be feeding people. You could be getting groceries. You could be doing laundry. Or you can also just post something. I really want people to post things, and not just performatively speaking, but because you feel a certain way, because you're having that human experience, and because you're sharing your moral beliefs. That's what I want. You know what I mean? We're not, as human beings, expected to do everything, but anything you have to do. Have to do anything. And I see a lot of people doing nothing. And it pains my heart because, I hate I hate when people say to me, well, Heidi, you need to keep politics out of your business. And I could not, you know, I can't do that. I'm sorry. And I don't think that you should, actually. I think politics affect every single thing that I do in my business. So they affect that I'm a woman in business. They affect what I'm charged, from the state for licensing. They affect how insurance works. They affect the services that I can offer legally. They affect if I have to do taxes. There's so many different things that politics have to do with our daily lives that it's kind of ignorant for somebody to say that, well, let's not talk about this big thing that affects all of us, right? And I'm not saying that every day, all day is going to be about politics. Don't get me wrong. I'm hoping there's some laughter and some, little bits of joy with all of this. But I will say I am going to be showing up much differently in my business because of what's going on. So I hope people are, aware. I hope people are patient, and I hope people understand, like, hey, this is probably going to come up. I'm going to be talking about it. I'm not going to shut up about it. You know what I mean? And it's just, yeah. So I hope other people show up. I hope other people do things. I do really appreciate you guys, for listening. I want you to know you are not alone if you're feeling lost or if you're feeling like you don't know what to do. But I promise you, start somewhere, take action anywhere, and connect with your community. And trust me, you will, can kind of take care of those emotions for you. Drink water, rest when you can, eat healthy foods right now if you can. And things like that. I want to read to you something I wrote the other day. It's not perfect. It's just a rough draft, but I want to read it to you. How do I go back to work or normal life? Helicopters overhead. My phone is blowing up with notifications that neighbors are being taken from their homes. I'm always on high alert. The oppressive news outlets are calling my neighbors and community terrorists. I see people trying to protect themselves from mass murderers. They are taking people from their jobs, homes, gas stations, everyday life places that normal people go to. These people are not criminals or do harm to other people around them, not like the mass people with large guns. These mass people played too many video games and are now living it without any shame or caring about the laws. Migration is very common, and I would say a human trait. Classifying every migrant as a criminal is pure stupidity, especially if you look at statistics. A very large scale of migrants haven't committed any crimes, civil or criminal. But let's be honest, many people know that, or, if you have any sort of self-thought or care for others, and even have a history book or two, know what's going on isn't about immigration status. Many people quote Anne Frank right now. Her words feel so present and sad. The emotions that stir are anger, sadness, fear, and outright rage. My community and I are feeling them all and all at once, right? We're feeling them all the time. There is no shut off when you're living in an area that is under constant attack. We don't get that luxury. I see people online never posting about this and just going on with their lives. I'm in shock. How can you sit there and act like you don't see the atrocities that are taking place? How can you sit there and stay quiet while people are getting murdered, kidnapped, maced, pepper sprayed, kicked, run over, pushed, called vile names? Those are all very real and documented acts against everyday people, and I've seen those with my own eyes. My community members didn't have guns or self-defense know-how, but now many do, and many are realizing it's our everyday life to protect each other. There's no law and order anymore. Honestly, there really hasn't ever been, really. But it did feel like there at least had been some accountability in the past. Now, these mass murderers don't care about the consequences of their actions because most likely they'll get away with it. And the current regime protects fascists and acts of violence to further their plan for white supremacist future. And that was the end of what I wrote. It's just something that I had to just do, right? So it was early morning. I was feeling a lot of emotions, and sometimes writing for me has been a little bit of an outlet. I'm not the best writer. But I think times like this, we have to do things that maybe feel closest to our heart, right? My hopes is if you've made it this far in listening, that you take action, you take care of your community members, and you don't stay silent. And thank you for listening.